up, guys? Here's how this is going to work. I've got 4 problems to do in this video today. What I would like you to do, grab a piece of paper. I want you to try to solve the problems that I have on here. I've seen some of you guys do this, and I'm so appreciative of it. Some of you guys will just watch through the video. You won't learn much by doing that, but you will learn a lot if you just try to solve these 4 problems with me in this video, and hopefully make a mistake, because mistakes are where we learn the most, okay? So please, you're sitting by yourself right now, making a mistake. This is probably the best time to do it. Nobody can see it. You don't have to feel bad about it. Maybe you can learn something, all right? So let's dive into this. I'd like you to pause the video when you see each question come up on the screen here, and then unpause it. See how I solve it and compare it to how you did, and maybe you can learn to get a little bit better at writing these equations from some real-world situations. All right, here we go. Go ahead and try this problem out. All right. Hopefully you've got a good answer for this one, or an answer, maybe a bad answer. Bethany bought a box of markers. She gave 6 markers to a friend. Nice. If Bethany now has 52 markers, how many markers were in the box that she bought? Well, obviously she started off with more. Now that's a number that we don't know. We don't know how many markers she started out with. That's where we come in with a variable, right? Let's use B, Bethany's markers. We do know that she gave 6 markers away, right? We do know she gave, that's probably going to be an important number, 6, right? And then we do know that she now has 52, right? So what we need to do is make an equation based off these 3 things. That makes sense here. First of all, we need to try and decide what operation we're using here. I think there's a really important word in here, the word gave. If you give someone something, that means you are losing something, right? Giving something away means you're losing something. And in mathematical terms, what would be the best operation to describe losing something? I think that would be subtraction. So I think this is a subtraction problem. I think that Bethany started with some markers and she gave some away. She subtracted from what she had, gave them to a friend, and then ended up with a smaller amount. So what we should do then is take the markers that Bethany had, this right here, B, take the markers Bethany had, take 6 away from them, which would leave her with 52. This is a subtraction equation where you take Bethany's markers, subtract 6 away, and now she has 52 left over. This is a subtraction equation. Now it asks us to solve how many markers were in the box that she bought. All we got to do is take the 6 that she subtracted away from her, add them back to it to find out what that would be. And in this case, isolate the variable, right? By adding 6 to both sides of the equation. Cancels this out. B equals 58. And that's a reasonable answer, right? If you had made this a multiplication equation, then you would have ended up doing 52 divided by 6. It wouldn't make sense for her to have that many markers in a box, right? Or if it was a division equation and you multiplied, you would have like something like 300 markers, right? That's not how many she started with in the box, right? So again, look at your answer and see if this makes sense. Does it make sense to say that she had 58 markers to start with? Gave 6 away and ended up with 52? Absolutely. Subtraction equation, guys. Remember that your variable is always going to be together with something in these equations. It will never be something like 52 plus 6 equals B, right? Your variable would never just be alone by itself over there. Here's the next one. Try this one out real quick, please. The difference between the greatest and least weights of puppies in a shelter is 28 pounds. The lightest puppy weighs 4 pounds, right? And solve a subtraction equation to find the weight of the heaviest puppy. Keyword, biggest keyword in this problem, difference. Difference in mathematics means subtraction. So here we have another subtraction problem. And when you find the difference between things, you subtract them. So we're actually subtracting the difference between the greatest and least weights. So the heaviest puppy and the lightest puppy. So like the heaviest puppy minus the lightest puppy would give us the difference between them, which is 28. I mean, there it is, right? Take the heaviest puppy and the lightest puppy, subtract them, and you get the difference between them, which is 28. But here's the cool thing. They tell us what the lightest puppy weighs, 4 pounds. So we can actually put a 4 in here. So it'd actually be H minus 4 equals 28, right? There is our subtraction equation for this one. Now to find out what the heaviest puppy weighs, all we got to do is isolate our variable. Add 4 to both sides. Age equals 32. The heaviest puppy weighs 32 pounds. The lightest puppy weighs 4 pounds. Is the difference between them 28? Absolutely. Here's the next one. There were 214 students that voted for Jameson to be the student council president. This was 1/3 of the number of students that voted. So does that mean only a couple people voted, or like a ton of people voted? I mean, I would assume that a ton of people voted, and he got 214 of the votes. Actually got 1/3. Write and solve an equation to find the number of students who voted. If you're finding 1/3 of something, we talked about this in our last video lesson. To find 1/3 sounds like you're doing a fraction, but to find a fraction of something really means division. So to find 1/3 of something means to divide by, you got it, 3. What are we dividing by 3? We're dividing the number of people who voted by 3. The total number of people that voted, he got 1/3 of them. So what we need is a really big number of students that voted. We divide that by 3, and that's how he got 214 votes. So how do we show a big number of students divided by 3, which gave us his votes, 214? We take a big number of students that we don't know, divide it by 3, and that should give us how many votes he got, 214. The total number of students divided by 3 gave us his votes. So if we wanted to find out the total number of students who voted, all we have to do is find out what S is. Let's isolate our variable. This is a division equation. If S is being divided by 3, I can do the inverse of that. Multiply by 3. I'm going to do that to both sides, keep my equation balanced. Over here does an awesome thing where it gets my variable alone. And over here, 214 times 3, which I don't know off the top of my head, we could use our trick that we do. But I'll just do it long ways. 214 times 3 is 12, 4, 642. Now let's see, before we say this is our answer, let's make sure this makes sense. Would it make sense to say that there were 642 kids total that voted, and that 214 of them voted for Jameson? Does that look like 1/3 of this? That makes sense to me, right? It seems like not everyone's going to vote for Jameson, right? I'm sure there's other people they could have voted for. So that's why he only got 214 out of that 642 to vote for him. But looks like a reasonable answer to me. Last one. Amiko needs to go to the dentist. It takes her 70 minutes to get there if she rides her bike. Like an hour and 10 minutes to go to the dentist? Just have someone take you. What? This is twice the time it would take if she took the bus. Okay. Before we move on, which is faster, the bus or the bike? I mean, the bus, right? Obviously, the bus is going to be faster. Write and solve an equation to find out how long it takes Amiko to get to the dentist by bus. Twice the time. Twice. What does twice mean? Twice means times 2. Times 2 means multiplication. What we should be creating here is a multiplication equation. What times 2 equals what? Something times 2 would equal, what do we have here? The distance by bus, and we know that it's 70 minutes on her bike. So actually, if we took the time it took her on the bus, we multiply that by 2, it should tell us 70 minutes, right? Because that's double the time. 2 times the amount of the bus is equal to what it takes her to ride the bike. So 2b equals 70. If we solve for b now, we should be able to figure out what the time is for the bus, right? Because it takes her twice the time to take the bike as it does on the bus. So 2 times b should equal her time on the bike. So let's solve for b. If b is being multiplied by 2, I'm going to do the inverse of that and divide by 2. If I divide this side by 2 as well, it should tell me how long it takes me on the bus, which would be 70 divided by 2 is 35. Does this make sense? Does it make sense to say that the bus takes 35 minutes? The bike takes 70 minutes. The bus should be faster. Does it make sense to say that the bus is 35 minutes, which is half that? Absolutely. Because double that would be your bike time. Guys, thanks for practicing these problems with me today. We have a couple of these problems here. We're going to have to write these equations in your assignment. Let me know if you got any questions, please. We got a test coming up this week. We're going to review tomorrow. So let's be ready for it. Peace.